Survivor Gamechangers, a cast renowned for its top-heavy casting, consisting of actual game changers like Ozzy, Sandra, Cirie, and people that, let's face it, just didn't change the game, like Varner, Caleb, Brad. I've been told by the comments I can't be mean to you. So as long as you don't say anything silly, I won't make fun of you this video, Sierra. Okay?
Who will win the most immunity challenges?
I'm gonna go with myself. I'm in really good, physical shape, the best I've ever been in my life, so I'm gonna go with me.
Hello everyone, Bandit here, and whether you're a cop turned criminal, spy enthusiast, or an individual who likes to mercilessly vote their mother out of $1 million, I welcome you nonetheless. Today I'll be taking the Game Changer cast, that beloved cast, and completely changing it with 20 entirely new people. As for the rules, I only allowed myself a maximum of 4 returnees from each season, Survivor's rules as of recent, and I can only cast people obviously from seasons 1 to 33. I kept a cap on 6 winners maximum, as if I casted any more I might as well be making a winners versus non-winners cast, or just winners at war. I then slightly changed the definition of Game Changer, as instead of defining an era of Survivor, like some people use in their casting videos, I more so came of the angle of records they achieved, or strategies they pioneered. Also, if you can't tell, this is a dream cast, so I'll be taking liberties with this grouping of people. So if an individual couldn't play around this time, I still may be including them. Nonetheless, let's hop into it. For this video, I decided to look at each Game Changer's archetype and find a suitable replacement for them. The first replaces Sierra Easton, and I picked another young strategic woman in Kelly Wentworth. While her San Juan del Sur game is largely forgettable, she played anything but a forgettable game in Cambodia, as she was a scrappy underdog that scored a record-setting 9 votes, blocked at the final 12 tribal council, and eliminated adversary Andrew Savage as a cherry on top.
First vote. Wentworth will not count. Savage.
All right, baby.
Unbelievable.
After this, I had to replace Tony, which was tough considering he's one of, if not my favourite, players to ever play Survivor, coupled with his winning status. In the end, I replaced him with another villainous winner that comes from the first ever winner in Survivor, Richard Hatch. And Richard is obviously a game changer, considering he literally made the game what it is at its roots. He's credited with the creation of the first alliance, and displayed strategy like stepping down at the final 3 challenge, which was impressive for the time. Plus, we've seen he's still committed to the game, almost was on Winners at War, and is still physically sound. Next up is Caleb, and how do you replace a man that never went to tribal council? Well, my replacement comes in fellow Big Brother turned Survivor player Hayden Moss. While Hayden isn't remembered as much nowadays, we have to remember this was 8 seasons ago, where Hayden still had recency bias, further accentuated by him potentially being on Cambodia. Without Sierra, Hayden can take credit for the final 6 rock draw, which, to be fair, should be the case anyway. But this is the first instance of the rock draw being implemented under current rules, with the Marquesas rock draw kind of just being this cluster F that really should have resulted in a fire-making challenge. He perhaps doesn't have the legacy, but Hayden has recency bias for this cast, and that was good enough for me.
Big Brother, I mean, it is Survivor in a house. So as far as training or preparation, I'm going to be more prepared than anybody else that hasn't already played this game.
Achieving 4th place was Malcolm, a pretty strong guy who got replaced by an even stronger guy and yet another winner in Mike Holloway. Mike is the longest immunity train in Survivor history, with 5 individual immunities and a played idol securing him as an immunity king. Plus, he was a massive fan favourite in Worlds Apart, and I personally would be quite interested in seeing how the cast respond to him with the retrospect of his winning game. JT's replacement was pretty easy. After all, JT is renowned for having a perfect game, but someone, at least statistically, beat him to his clean sweep, and that of course is Earl Cole, winner of Survivor Fiji. For anyone wondering, this means I have half of my winner slots already used up, and since I split the gender ratios, Earl is the last male winner. But he won unanimously and is regarded as one of, if not the best winners in Survivor history, who was at the top and remained unchallenged. Could he keep that trajectory with this cast? Let me know down in the comments. Following JT, we have Sandra, undoubtedly a game changer due to her being a 2-time winner, and because nobody else held this distinction at this point in the game, I just swapped her for the first female winner in Survivor's history, Tina. Now, despite her age, Tina still proved in Blood vs. Water she had the physicality to win challenges and almost won the game again. In the Australian Outback, she was also the first person to abuse the past votes rule and eliminated Mitchell, then Varner, at the merge because of it. This ultimately allowed her to keep her ally Keith over Mitchell while winning the merge deadlock. The final pre-merge boot was Varner, an old school villain. In the end, I replaced him with one of the most well-known villains in Rob Cesternino. Now again, yes, he would have never said yes this season because he owns a podcast, but that's why it's a dream cast. In the Amazon, Rob pioneered the pendulum strategy, wherein he and Matthew took the middle ground of every vote and swung between alliances to pick off who they wished. This game-changing strategy has even been seen in modern seasons like Cagayan, where Tony and Wu flip between alliances to eliminate people that are specifically threats to them. Plus, we need redemption for Rob's All-Stars run.
My mouth feels so good. I want one of the girls to kiss me, but none of them want to do it, which is surprising.
The replacement for Hali comes in the form of Parvati Shallow, yet another winner. She's most well known for using flirting as a strategy and probably the most successful at using the flirting cards. However, what made me add her to this Gamechangers cast was creating an all-devouring female alliance that took out man after man. Yes, it's the Black Widow Brigade. Because of Parvati being the first to create an extremely strong female alliance, we've seen this having a knock-on effect, such as in Heroes vs. Villains, where even the idea of women working together had made certain men afraid of an all-female alliance.
Being a flirt the first time was enough to make me so threatening that there was a group trying to vote me out on the first day. Now being a winner, a flirt, and a threat, that's like gonna be like death-defying, you know?
Successful female alliances also have been replicated in the likes of One World 2. Ozzy was a tough person to cut from the cast because he has the highest individual win percentage of any player at an astounding 83% in the Cook Islands. However, to keep in with the spirit of challenge dominance, I replaced him with Colby Donaldson, who was the first person to win 5 challenges in Survivor. Despite achieving this record in Season 2, even 21 years later, this record still hasn't been broken and at best tied. It's also impressive that Colby won so many challenges in the Australian Outback, considering the merge was at 10. Now, I'll be the first to admit Colby had unimpressive showings in All-Stars and Heroes vs. Villains, but as of recently, he has been studying the game more, so on this Dreamcast he could yet again become more than a pretty face. Then there's Debbie. Debbie's Debbie, so it's impossible to get a replacement for her. Instead, I went with someone roughly as socially unaware as her, and that was Nalia from Marquesas. Firstly, it's important to note Nalia was a young woman in her original season and at points lacked the maturity, allowing her to gain the respect from her peers.
Did you guys feel horrible telling us?
No, but then we also brought back some food.
The only thing I have left to share is this mint that I shoved in my mouth really fast. So if everybody wants to take a little nibble.
I'm okay, sweetheart.
Oh, you guys, it's good.
Keep your mint candy, man. You know, that's like saying, anybody wanted this piece of doodle?
However, Gamechangers is 15 years later, and undoubtedly Nalia would have done a lot of learning in that time. We also saw her in Marquesas, making the biggest flip Survivor had seen at that point, as she and Pascal flipped on the Route 2-4 to eliminate John, and this broke the game wide open. Like it or not, Nalia pioneering this style of gameplay completely broke the expectations of strategy and Survivor, allowing for more aggressive gameplay to be utilised down the line. After this is Zeke, a villainous man who controlled the game from the shadows, and his replacement was also just that, in Johnny Fairplay. Now Fairplay did use a pendulum strategy in the Pearl Islands with Burton, but, as I already covered, I gave Rob the glory for that. In turn, I point to Johnny Fairplay's dead grandma lie as to why he's a game changer.
Oh, dude, that was good. Huh? That was good.
She died, dude.
Did you get the letter?
At this point in Survivor history, being devious was because of emotions, but Fairplay uses strategy with it. Lying about his grandma's death allowed Fairplay time with his friend and, in my opinion, showcased a brand new strategy in Survivor, allowing a player with a lack of moral compass to outplay opponents. We even saw this in later seasons, such as Twyla swearing on her son for moves. Andrea's replacement was honestly quite easy for me, as I acknowledge her as a strategic young woman, and so is Amanda Kimmel. Amanda Kimmel holds several Survivor records, as she's the first player to make it to 2 final tribals, has the most days consecutively lasted, and blindsided James with 2 idols in his pocket. And, at this point in the game, this was the only instance of someone being booted with 2 idols in their pocket. Amanda also does super well on the channel, so if you're wondering, that's why she's on the thumbnail. Cirie Don Thomas is next, who, if you can't already tell, I bash on a lot. However, people like to remind me she was an alternate, and so because of that, I replaced her with the person she was an alternate for, Natalie Anderson. Natalie is the final winner on this cast, and was set to compete on Gamechangers, but couldn't due to concussion. Probably for the best, Natalie. Her play to use the idol on Jacqueline at the final 5 changes the expectation from an idol in the late game. At this point in Survivor history, if you had an idol at this stage, you played it for yourself to secure your point in the endgame, but Natalie redefines the expectation by choosing to save Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, did you vote for who I told you to vote for? I'm playing this for Jack.
Okay.
Moreover, her final 5 idol play can also be argued as the first instance of showboating to a jury, where Natalie made it clear she was the mastermind of the plan, and the jury loved her for it. This showboating, of course, has also been replicated in other post-Gamechanger seasons. Booted after Sierra was Michaela. Michaela was obviously an individual with potential on her original season, while being of the young woman archetype. So, albeit a stretch, I went with another young woman that also could show promise on a return, in Natalie Tenorelli. Now, I know, she was Boston Rob's GOAT, wasn't that strategic, and made formulating a sentence look like an immunity challenge.
I feel like Andrea doesn't really
But bear in mind she was a teenager with not much Survivor knowledge on Redemption Island, and had to compete with the infamous Boston Rob. Nonetheless, I picked Natalie because she was the teenager that had, and still has, made it furthest in the game, and considering how Survivor at this point in time were very committed to casting teens, see more in my How Well Do Teens Do video, then this pick is justifiable. To replace Cirie, the queen most well known for the 3-2-1 vote, and being unbelievably screwed out of the win in every season, but mostly the 3-2-1 move, I replaced her with the queen of the 3-2-2 move. This comes in the form of Brenda, who utilised it in Nicaragua on Jill and Marty, then continued this move into Caramoan by using it to take out Andrea, the first female eliminated with an idol in her pocket.
Oh, you guys!
While the move isn't as iconic nor flashy as Cirie's 3-2-1 move, it still has been used in San Juan del Sur and seasons beyond. At this point, I was admittedly struggling to find the 10th female replacement on the list who couldn't take up a Heroes vs Villains or All-Star slot, the latter being important for the last female. But I replaced Aubrey with PG, renowned for one of the most strategic challenge throws that completely flipped the dynamics of the game, by eliminating Aaron, the leader of the opposition tribe, coming into the swap. So in spite of her poor performance in Cambodia, I think her legacy and potential in that season can carry her into this cast. Tai is obviously renowned for being an idol-finding machine, who is also very villainous, and who better to replace him than Russell Hantz, who is probably the biggest villain Survivor has ever had. But that's not why he's a game changer. Instead, Russell found the first idol without needing a clue and set the record for the most idols found in the season in 3 during a stint in Samoa. I found Troyzan as a hard replacement. I mean, who screams "this is my island"? But he was the main jury threat to the winner, so I picked another jury threat to Earl in Yowman. Firstly, seeing Yowman and Earl on a cast together would be incredible, but we also had to address his idol shenanigans.
The one and only immunity idol.
He was the first to successfully play the modern day idol, and also created the first fake modern day idol, a strategy that has been implemented in, well, a lot of seasons. So yeah, bring Yowman back. Next was a replacement for Brad Culpepper, who won 5 immunities, and this was Terry Dietz, who also won 5 immunities. Terry was picked for this cast for being the first person to have this quote-unquote immunity train, as besides the final 3 vote, he was immune in some shape or form at every tribal council. Plus, I mean, after what happened in Cambodia, you have to feel bad for the guy, and I feel a 3rd shot isn't out of the question. Finally is a replacement for Sarah Lacina, and I just turned her into the first runner-up in Survivor's history, Kelly Wigglesworth. Yes, while Kelly proved she wasn't the most interesting of TV in Cambodia, she has way too many game-changing statistics to ignore. As already stated, she's the first runner-up in Survivor's history, getting literally 1 vote away from the win. The closest to the win at this point in Survivor history, looking at you, Mr. Dominic Abate. On top of this, she also holds the record for most immunity wins for a female, even nowadays, 21 years later, with 4. Consider in Borneo, there is only 8 challenges. This means Kelly has an insane 50% win rate coming into the individual challenge portion. This is only rivaled by Jenna Maraska, but again, Kelly was first to display this incredible challenge prowess for a female. But that's the end of the video, making a brand new Survivor Game Changers cast without any of the original Game Changers. Are there any people you would have swapped? Did you enjoy the video? Let me know down in the comments below, and subscribe if you enjoyed it as I reach closer and closer to 200 subs. But nonetheless, have a great day, and peace!